Hello and welcome, dear subscribers of my channel, and I would like to share with you something interesting. And namely, we had a great presentation. We presented the results of our paper, and as it has been already accepted and as it will appear soon, I would like to share with you the results. Actually, it's not about the results of the paper, it's about what you can do with a discrete choice experiment. And we ran an additional study on the digitalization costs, and in this study we looked at the different types of costs that have impact on the preferences with regard to digitalization projects. For example, we looked at the organizational costs, human costs, and relational costs. Probably you know it from our paper with Nadine Osten, and we have now the conference paper with Antonia Schwiager and Daniel Beimborn. And this is additional study that we conducted with Daniel Beimborn and Antonia Schwiager. And in this study, we looked again at the social costs or indirect costs of digitalization, but we looked at three different dimensions. On the top managers, we looked at the managers or middle managers and the frontline employees, and we looked at how these costs are perceived. And what is new in the method, that now we apply this method not to look at the differences, but to create additional alternative profiles of these people. And theoretically, this is how you can treat the personas that you know from marketing. So we call it evidence-based personas, what we did. First of all, the results, and in this study we applied the same attributes and levels that we applied before in a bit different settings, but we just replicated the study in a different setting, and we of course added something, but this you will read in the paper. And these are the attributes that we had: organizational costs, HR-related costs, relational costs, and efficiency gains. And we used efficiency gain as the scalable variable that we use to calculate the willingness to pay, or in this event, willingness to trade efficiency against something. And you can also see what kind of levels we used there. You can find this table also in one of our papers, because we have already published several studies on this topic. So just how it looked like. It looked a bit nicer because it was made in Qualtrics. This is from the paper, the nice picture. People had to decide what kind of project, digitalization project, they would prefer, and they had a combination of different costs here. As you can see, the attributes were randomized, efficiency gains comes as second, human costs as the first, and so on. How to interpret results? I know that it's not a part of this video, but some of you asked me how to present the results and how it should look like. This is one of the ways how you can present the results. And we present the exponential b-values here, and exponential b-values, they show the odds or the chance that something will be preferred over the baseline. And the baseline in this event, in this example, is the excessive usage of company resources, and you can see that it is equal to 1. It means this is the one, like 50-50 chance. If it is higher than 1, it means that it will be so many times more likely that this option will be preferred. So as you see, the odds ratio is different from probabilities, and in order to give you an understanding what the difference is, imagine that you throw a dice. What is the probability to get a 6? It will be 1/6. What are the chances that you get a 6 and not a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? This will be 1/6 multiplied by 5/4, 5/6, sorry, if I understand correctly. So as you can see, the odds ratio can be converted into probabilities, but odds ratio is something very logical and very easy to understand, much easier for the non-academics to understand what it is. So how many chances is it? 2 times more likely, 3 times more likely something's preferred over something. And you can see, for example, that the temporary deceleration costs are 2 times more likely preferred over the excessive usage of companies' resources. And this is 2.3 times, for example, and can be lower than 1. It means it's 0.9 times more likely. It means less likely. So now, knowing the results, I want to show you shortly the results from our research, and we had the top managers, middle managers, and frontline employees, and we made this distinction. So we had the reference value, and it was the excessive usage of company resources, and you see the top managers would avoid them almost at any cost. They would prefer rather to have temporary deceleration of business processes, or even additional cost of adjustments of the company structure. So it would go for restructuring, but they would try to avoid usage of company resources. But it is different for the middle managers. For example, middle managers would prefer the excessive usage of company resources over temporary deceleration of business processes or additional costs for adjustments of the company structure. If you want to know whether the differences between the groups are significant or within the group are significant, you have to read through our paper. We have all the tables with all the numbers there. We have the HR-related costs or personal costs, and you see we have a different perception of these costs. You see, for example, that top managers, they don't mind to have additional learning, but frontline employees, they really would like to have it. Almost 3 times more likely they would like to have the additional learning costs as compared to additional HR costs, which was the baseline. And with regard to relational costs, you see that the relational costs or baseline was triggering internal discussions by partners, and people don't mind to have it. It's much better than anything else. For example, emerging of ill feelings by business partners or the incompatibilities. As you see, almost everybody would like to avoid them, but the top managers are more likely to avoid emerging ill feelings by business partners than, for example, middle managers. And finally, we have the efficiency gain. It's the linear scale, so just each person, so how much each percent of efficiency gain is valued, and you see the highest value is in the event of frontline employees, and then middle managers and then top managers, which is kind of very interesting. What we can calculate now is the willingness to trade, and this is what we additionally can do. For example, how much I have to offer in order to people accept the internal discussions by business partners, or in this event, in order to not to accept them, because it is the baseline, and this is how much they would pay in order to have it, as compared to emerging feelings. So, just one more time, the triggering internal discussion is the baseline, and how much do we have to pay if people would have to accept emerging ill feelings as compared to the baseline. And you see that in the event of top managers, about 7%. You have to offer them 7% of efficiency more that they accept the ill feelings of business partners as compared to internal discussions by business partners. So the top managers don't mind if our partners discuss whether they should have digitalization or not, but they really mind having ill feelings by business partners. Nobody wants to have the negative associations, but as you can see by top managers, it's many times it is much more expensive. So it's 7% of the efficiency gain that you have to offer them as compared to only 0.7% in the event of middle managers, which is already very interesting, by the way. Now, I want to show you how you can apply knowledge from your discrete choice experiment to marketing, to profiling, or to creating personas. So a persona is the archetypical representative of a target group. You may think of a typical top manager, how he or she looks like, what is the age, what are the habits, where this person lives, and so on. If you develop your marketing strategy, you look at these people and you try to profile them in order to develop a good strategy, in order to find their pain points or what actually they would like to have. And usually, and I've done this already many times, you develop personas based on brainstorming, and you try to find out how could this person look like, and participants of your group, they describe them, and then you create the persona. What is the age? What is the average? What is the gender of the typical, let's say, sales manager or top manager or middle manager, and different other characteristics. And based on a discrete choice experiment, you can make an evidence-based approach. First of all, we include demographics in our tests. So not only discrete choice experiments, usually we have a block with demographical questions where we ask about the age, about the gender, about the income, about the position within an organization, number of levels in hierarchy above them, and so on. You can add also location and other values. For example, what is the number of employees that you have to lead, or something else. And you can include these variables based on your investigation to create a really evidence-based persona. You know that, let's say, 80% of top managers are male. That is why probably the archetypical representative should be also male. And the average gender or average age would be, I don't know, let's say 55 years. So this would be the values that you take. But with a discrete choice experiment, you can add something more. And this has two main goals. The first one, you address the issues during the software development. It was the conference and the study about the software development, digitalization solutions. And if you know what they dislike or what they like, then you can address it and develop your software accordingly. And if you have already your software, then you can frame your software when you try to implement it. For example, you can sell different things to top managers, middle managers, or frontline employees. But in combination with the persona, you can create a really good approach to the archetypical representative of, let's say, top management of a firm. And the sample personas that you can develop would be, for example, Antonia. Egger, because we are now in Austria, this would be a typical name or last name for Austria. We assume she's a C-level manager from Austria, 45 years old. This is the dummy values, but you can also include the pain points that are rooted in your discrete choice experiment. We know that Ms. Egger, as a C-level manager, would avoid at any costs the excessive usage of firm's resources, the adjustment of business process and salary, and accept salary adjustment. These are the pain points, and we know them from this study. It means it is statistically tested and is significant, and it is not just your perception of this persona. The same could be, for example, for Andres Egger, frontline employee, Austria, 35 years old, and so on. And the pain points would be that I took from the results of our study, for example, the HR adjustment costs and the ill feelings by partners. These are the things this person would like to avoid. So if you develop your solution, you may try to develop a solution that will address this problem. And you can speak directly about, for example, ill feelings by partners and how your software or your product, your solution, your services are addressing this issue. And this will hopefully make you more successful. And I would like to finish this short presentation with the words by Sun Tzu, The Art of War, and he said, "If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 of battles. If you know yourself but not the enemy, for every victory gained you will also suffer defeat. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle." So a discrete choice experiment can help you develop personas and know your clients much better. And it will help you know yourself much better. And with this in mind, I think you can be much better prepared for your marketing strategy applying a discrete choice experiment. I hope it was interesting. If you have any suggestions and comments, leave them in the comments section down below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're interested in the method. And see you next time. Bye bye.